Hello, credit union community. Here are your topics for today's show. Is outbound engagement the untapped growth strategy credit unions are missing? We'll explore why it's often overlooked and how to do it right. Then we're talking about a dirty word for credit unions, cross-selling. How can you make it truly member-centric and not just transactional? And finally, what are the best performing growth channels for credit unions? We'll get into the nitty-gritty on the specific tactics driving growth for credit unions today. Welcome to Grow Your Credit Union. I am your host, Joshua Barclay. This is the podcast where credit union leaders gather, learn, and grow. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest co-host. You've heard him on the show before, the CEO of Connects Federal Credit Union, James McBride. James, it's great to have you back, man.
Man, it is great to be here. As we're recording, it's Wednesday, so let's go.
Before we begin today's show, I just want to first mention our sponsor, PFP Services. You will hear more about them later in the show. James, holiday plans. Do you know what you're doing yet?
I have been told what I'm doing. What I'm doing is a sprint. Actually, my mother-in-law is going to have a surgery. And so a lot of my Christmas time, we're going to go down to Nashville, Tennessee, where I'm from, and really help her out while we're down there. And then get to see friends and family. Some of our family we haven't seen in over a year, so we're really excited to get back to Nashville and spend a few days down there.
I had no idea you were from Nashville, which has become one of the most popular places, especially for my cousins. They live in Southern Illinois, and every summer they're all about that Nashville life. Talk to me about food. I'm a big food guy. What is like the quintessential Nashville dish?
It's Nashville hot chicken, man. And if you're going to Nashville, Tennessee, there's kind of a rivalry in Nashville. There's Prince's hot chicken and there's Hattie B's hot chicken. And depending on who you ask, one will tell you that they were the original and the other will tell you that they're a fraud. But the reality is they both have great hot chicken. So if you're going to Nashville, Nashville hot chicken is legit. The stuff you get at these restaurants all around the country, that's not Nashville hot chicken. You have to go to Nashville to get Nashville hot chicken.
All right, my cousins out there, if you're listening, I don't know if you are, I doubt you are, but if you're listening to this for some strange reason, you just heard the man. Let's introduce our sponsored guest for today. It's the CEO at PFP Services, David Sussman. David, welcome to the show.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you very much for having me.
There are many overlooked growth strategies for credit unions, and perhaps one of the biggest, most untalked about, and probably unsexiest is outbound engagement. And maybe that's because most people aren't good at it. 52% of outbound marketers rate their efforts as ineffective, according to Spodio. But let's wait a second before we dismiss outbound, okay? It's worth noting that 75% of surveyed executives are willing to make an appointment or attend an event based on a cold call or email alone. And I know that I've talked to credit unions, a few of them, not a lot of them, that do outbound really, really well. So David, I know that you have made outbound a staple of what you do at PFP, one of many, not just outbound, but you've been very, very effective at driving growth through outbound for credit unions. So my question to you, David, is why do you think outbound engagement is often seen as ineffective? And then how can credit unions approach it differently to achieve better results?
Well, first of all, the credit union movement is really smart. I mean, they've gone through tremendous change over time, and those that are here still working in the community have found ways to engage with members. So when it comes to outbound, they want to do it. Everybody's trying to do it. And the effective approach we found is taking the idea of having a random phone call or a random email or what have you and turning it into more of a targeted approach. Improving your reach rate, improving your ability that people are willing to trust that conversation changes the entire landscape. So we found ways to build trust prior to that phone call, and we've also found ways to build trust during that phone call to absolutely change the game so that you can have that engaging conversation. And there are many credit unions that are able to do that. So with us, we found a way to be able to help our partners take strategies that they're already employing and take them to a new level and bring sophistication, to bring technology, and to help them reach their goals.
James, talk to me about Outbound. What are you doing over there at Connects Federal Credit Union, and sort of what is your philosophy around how to make it effective and not just basically harassment, right? When Outbound is done poorly, it's like, oh, God, this is very uncomfortable. What are you doing to make it effective?
I think one of the first things that I would say, David probably doesn't know this, but I just checked with our chief experience officer. We have a signed agreement with PFP. So just for the record, we signed up with those guys because we like to trust partners that know what they're doing. And I've worked with them in the past, and I know that they know what they're doing. But from a standpoint of what we're going to do here, I think one of the things he said was targeted, right? So targeted approach. That's where you have to start. You also have to start, I think, with reasonable expectations. The wider the net is, the more likely you are to catch fish. That's reality. And when you're thinking about outbound, one of the things that I think that we think about is, let's think about how much we're going to pay for a lead. Let's talk about how much we're going to do in the marketplace, where our targets are. So one of the things we're trying right now actually is LinkedIn sponsored ads. What can we do on LinkedIn, for instance, to say, can we go out there and say, hey, you know what? We've got this great refinance special. We want to tell you about it and connect with people there. What we found is the lead cost for LinkedIn is much cheaper than what you would be paying if you do Google or some other paid advertisement. And you get more natural data because we already know where they work, how long they've been on the job. So the reason why I share that is it's being creative. It's finding new ways to connect with your targeted audience, but also it's about stacking the deck. You know, if I were Batman, I'd be talking about my utility belt. What do I have in my utility belt to actually connect with our marketplace and make a difference and understand that it's not a one-to-one conversion rate, right? So if I'm going to go out there and marketing is all about impressions, how many impressions do we get and what's the return rate on that? If a credit union's expecting a 60, 70, 80% return rate on their marketing, which I know some who do, you're going to be disappointed. It's how many responses do you get? And then from there, is your process good enough to convert that response rate into a close?
Wow. The Batman utility belt mention. I love bringing James on the show because we get those types of gems. David, when we're thinking about that Batman utility belt, what do you think are some of the fundamentals of successful outbound? You mentioned a few things, but from a 101 standpoint, let's say someone's listening and they're like, you know, David, I really would like to do outbound. We tried it. We didn't try it very long. We gave up on it. What are some of those 101 outbound for dummies type of advice that you can give for our listeners?
Yeah, well, James, you're absolutely right. When it comes to the work that we do, there's lots of ways to try to create that connection and create that engagement. And that cost for lead is key. So first of all, it's finding partners, wherever those may be, to be able to help you in a cost-effective way. Once you get a partner that you trust, you then have to go to the members. The members are the ones that have to build to be trusting in that conversation. So the first thing that we do is we'll say, listen, let's say you want to do an outbound engagement program and we're advising a credit union. We would say, first of all, you've got to send out an email to those members that you're doing a call to, so that before you make that call, they're ready for a phone call from the credit union. You also have to make sure the credit union team knows that you're doing this. If you're doing this in a vacuum, and because every credit union member has been told, don't worry, we're not going to call you. So if somebody calls you, you know that's not us. And then if you start calling, they're like, wait a second. So if you know and you speak and you have something perhaps on your website that talks about it, or everybody, when they make a phone call in, knows about it, that builds trust. The next part is when you do have that conversation and we're able to, believe it or not, we speak to 30% of the people that we do outreach to as a result of some of the work we do. So when you talk about reach rate, 30%. And if you talk about a credit union team, a credit union would be thrilled to engage with 30% of their members on an annual basis. It's very hard to see and have conversations with that many members in a particular year. So when we do that, it's a beautiful thing. That engagement is critical, and that's how I would recommend starting.
There's a lot of things that we know we should be doing. We know we should be eating vegetables, fruits. We know that we should be exercising. And another one of those things that we know we should be doing, but maybe we don't do enough of, is cross-selling. We know it's effective, boasting a 60 to 70% success rate compared to just 5 to 20% when selling to new members, according to betterproposals.io. However, while cross-selling is a common strategy, it can sometimes come across as transactional, impersonal, and even at odds with credit unions' mission of putting members first. So what I'm wondering here, David, is how can credit unions make cross-selling feel more natural and make it a meaningful way to genuinely serve member needs?
This has been the pursuit of the credit union movement for decades. Back in the 90s and 2000s, we were bringing these training programs to credit union, cross-selling skills for the credit union professionals. We were doing this together with the credit unions because it was like absolutely a bad word. And we were gaining some traction in just making it comfortable. But with the many ways, and there's a lot of work on this, there's something that is the most important skill in cross-selling, and it's ironic because it has to do with the ears more than it has to do with the mouth. To cross-sell away from a transactional approach, you have to listen. You have to listen and have a conversation and start to understand the member who you are speaking to. Because every single member who is out there has needs. There is no member that doesn't have a need when it comes to financial services, education, questions, where they're going, where they've been, what they're worried about. And when it comes to that financial plan, every single member has a concern about protecting that plan. Because with all plans, the biggest problem is if someone gets sick or somebody gets an illness, passes away, and they're the family member. It could be anything. So you need to have a great financial plan, and you need to protect it. There's nobody out there that doesn't need something with regard to that. So listening and then presenting solutions, all of a sudden you're not selling, you're helping. And that's what we try to promote.
Big ears, folks. What David is saying, big ears. We want to be listening. Turn those ears into satellites, okay? James, you do prioritize cross-selling, and you're not scared to say the word cross-selling. It's not taboo. It's not a dirty word in your credit union. So talk to me about your philosophy around it and what you're doing.
It's about adding value to the consumer. I also believe that it's nearly impossible to sell something that you don't understand. So one of the things that I teach is that I agree. It's all about listening and having the listening convert to what your mouth says. It's also about looking at the screen that's in front of you and understanding the consumer that you're talking to. But in addition to that, it's about understanding first. It starts with your head. Do I understand the products that we have at this organization and how they connect to each other? And if I understand that, then I can understand how to add value back to the member. Now, I'm going to say something controversial. I always do when I come on, and here's my controversial statement for the day. Most credit union people who think they know how to sell don't know crap about selling. And so a lot of the processes that people are putting in place are backwards. We're pushing the sales before we push the product knowledge. And that's where I believe you have to begin. I have to understand what my products are. Then I have to understand that people don't want to be sold. They want to be given value. So if I lead with the benefit to the member, this is the value that we're going to add to your life. And we're either saving you money, making you money, or saving you time. If we lead with those things, then we have a chance to win. If we lead with, hey, would you happen to like a checking account? You're going to lose. Not only are you not going to get the sale, you're also going to lose credibility with the consumer that's standing or listening to you. So it's about understanding your products, delivering value, and being targeted with your approach.
James, I love what you're saying right there. And when you think about it, you hit the perfect concept. The education part starts with the individual on the phone, the credit union individual. So you educate your team. Your team knows. And because of that, they're able to have a true conversation that builds trust. Because when you know something that you're talking about, it builds trust. that engagement with that education allows you to then educate the member. And that education allows you to protect the member and help the member. And all of a sudden, none of those words are sell. None of those words are push. None of those words are product driven. It's all about engagement, education, and protection. And in the financial services world, that conversation is truly rare. And frankly, that's what credit unions bring to the entire market. That's what differentiates us from other financial institutions. It's really people like James and his team, and it's other credit unions that are just like that, who have people who've been in the movement for their entire career or that have really been drawn to it in some way because they understand that's what differentiates credit unions from everyone else.
James, you talk about product knowledge, and what I heard using my big ears, as David recommended, was training. That's all I heard when you talked about product knowledge. There's a lot of products, though. So what is your methodology around training people? If I come into your credit union, do I need to know every product like I'm working at an Olive Garden? Or talk to me about the training around the products.
I think it's kind of like reading a book. You got to start with a base. So the story starts at the beginning, and then you move through. And I think it's about targeting. Just before I came to this meeting today, we were having training on our back-end products for our auto loans. And we do that on a monthly basis. We're starting to add programs. And over time, as people go through these training sessions, they're going to get more and more data and depth of knowledge. So again, a lot of times where we screw up with training is we think we sent them to a training class for 2 hours, and now they should know everything there is to know about the checking product. Well, guess what? That won't work. You've got to keep reiterating it, right? This is why we go to school for 13 years. Not for 13 minutes. When you think about it from that perspective, you got to keep continually educating the employee, telling them what's important, what's changed, what's improved about the products, and where that value connects to the consumer. Again, there's no magic switch here. It's about rigor. It's about doing the work day after day after day after day to make sure your people know it's important to know their products. And once you get there, then you can start teaching them how to sell things.
Credit unions have multiple channels. And each channel has an opportunity to drive a conversation. And that conversation is all about what James was talking about and has been talking about. Every conversation is a chance to continually build trust and the opportunity to provide that next product in that road, that roadmap that individual is going through. The next product might come after 3 conversations. It's not all at once and the only one conversation you have. So whether they are in the branch or at an employer group or in the community, or if they come in digitally or socially, or you do an outbound call or you do an email, these opportunities are to drive conversations, to have an opportunity to educate.
And now it's time for a word from our sponsor, PFP Services. They are announcing a groundbreaking 2025 seminar series, Access, Your Credit Union's Currency for Organic Growth. For more than 50 years, PFP Services has worked exclusively with credit unions to grow membership, drive loan and deposit product growth, as well as non-interest income to the bottom line for their partners. This dynamic seminar, set to take place in select regions across the country, is designed to challenge and transform how credit unions think about their most vital resource, access. With the evolving landscape of financial services, credit unions must assess and elevate their reach and engagement with members. Whether through physical branches, digital avenues, or over the phone, true value is measured by how effectively you connect with the communities you serve. In this seminar, industry leaders will guide attendees through an in-depth personal assessment of their credit union's access points. From broadening your reach to enhancing member experiences, this seminar will empower you with the tools to elevate your credit union's impact, expand your member base, and enhance your connection with the communities you serve. If you are interested in this seminar or interested in what PFP Services has to offer, visit familysecurityplan.com/credit-unions to learn more. That's familysecurityplan.com/credit-unions to learn more. This is my favorite segment. David, I know PFP, y'all have been working with people for over 50 years, credit unions in particular. You offer a diverse range of strategies to help credit unions connect with members, enhance engagement, and drive growth. Of all of the approaches PFP employs to help credit unions grow, like email engagement, branch network outreach, and outbound campaigns, what would you say is the biggest driver of growth for credit unions today and why?
That's such a great question, and it's really important. One of the most interesting ways to think about growth is the idea, especially when it comes to organic growth, is the difference between proactive outreach and reactive outreach. Credit unions are superior at reactive outreach, and they work hard at proactive outreach. And that's the way it's been. And our work in the credit union movement for 50 years has always been to take the credit unions that are doing it, that get it, that want it, and take that proactive approach and help take it to a new level. And if they need help getting it started, we can actually take them to any level as a support system. The proactive approach is where really all the growth today is going to happen, because when it comes to reactive, that is, as you know, it's a little bit easier to do in the sense of you put it out there and then we get credit union members who know what they need and then reach out to the credit union. But many credit union members need something today and they're not thinking about their credit union, and we need to put them, that credit union, top of mind. Two parts. When it comes to organic growth, there's face-to-face and then there's over the phone or not face-to-face. When it comes to face-to-face, the employer group, the seg marketing, getting out to the employer groups that credit unions have, that is where tremendous growth is happening. You know, we don't like to use the word COVID anymore because it's been so long ago, but since COVID, credit unions had eliminated much of their teams and still need to get out to their credit union employer groups. And we're helping credit unions do that today. We're finding engagement tremendous. There's tremendous engagement when it comes to the employer groups. A lot of those contacts have changed. So we work on helping the credit unions clean up those lists, get new contacts, and start creating consistent approach again to get out to those employer groups. The new employees and employees that have been there, they want to join the credit union. They love the credit union. The credit union is where they want to be, but they need it to be easy. They need it to be convenient, and they need a conversation. They need to be proactive. So when we go out there, and we're actually getting up from a table and walking around or talking to people or sitting in a lunchroom when they come in, talking to them, that proactive approach gets new membership growth. So number one, organic growth comes through new membership. Number two, when it comes to existing members, that outbound engagement that we've been talking about over the phone, that coupled with a digital approach has been the best way to go out and to gain what credit unions really want. It's the heart and soul of the movement. It's loan growth and it's product growth, but a lot of it is focused on credit union members who need loans today. The credit union says, listen, I have 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 members. There's a certain percentage of them that needs a loan today. And then in 2 months, there's another group needs a loan. So the idea is to be able to get to the people who need that conversation, and that outbound engagement drives organic growth. And so those are the two methods that we're finding most effective.
Love what you said, David, around proactive. Love that word. For example, I want to do more business with my credit union. They're not proactive. They don't reach out to me. And I'm too busy doing podcast interviews. If you're listening, I'm not going to mention the name of my credit union, but if you're listening, proactive, listen to what David just said. Okay, James, talk to me about your philosophy right now on growth and sort of what's working for you in terms of channels, levers, tactics.
Yeah, I think, what we've been talking about is, again, the utility belt. It's not one channel. I would argue there are more people in America today that want credit union membership than there were 10 or 15 years ago. I just think there's a shift there. But here's the other shift that happened. And we talked about COVID a few moments ago, curbside delivery. Now we're having food delivered to our home. What does the American consumer want? They want you to come to them, right? They want you to make it easy for them to do business with you. And a lot of our credit union friends and colleagues are sitting in a branch hoping for that business to come to them. And I've got bad news for you. That's not likely to happen. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to say, what channels are we going to use? And there's a lot available to you. So for us, it's social media. Our social media engagement's up 1,600% over the last few months. We are doing things on LinkedIn that a lot of people aren't doing. We've partnered with PFP to get physical boots on the ground to go talk to our community and help us connect with those people. We're going to community events. The idea here is let's be seen as many places as possible. We're even thinking about like Chewy's, the fast, convenient food or whatever they call it these days, the Mexican restaurant. They sell T-shirts. We were at a community event and somebody said, hey, can we buy some of your T-shirts? And I'm like, you know what? Let's put our T-shirts in the community. Let's let people wear those. I talked to a member yesterday. He's like, I would love to have a shirt. I'm like, we'll get you one. Here's the thing is like, how can I get my brand into the community? There's so many different ways to do it. But if I stay in my building and I'm waiting for people to come to me, it's not going to work. We've got to get out there. And again, marketing for me about impressions, right? How many impressions am I getting and what's my conversion rate? That's what I need to understand. And it's going to take a lot of impressions, 7, 8, 9 per individual to get that person to say, you know what, I think I want to go over there and try what they're doing. That's what I would tell you is it's a lot of hard work, a lot of different paths, but you got to keep at it and you can't give up when you don't get that, 70 or 80% conversion rate on the first attempt.
It's interesting. You're right. That passive approach, hoping and praying that people are going to come into the branch, those days are over. So David, for people who want to educate themselves on growth and how to get that access, talk to me about your seminar series, Access, because you're providing a lot of value upfront for credit unions. And honestly, you're really not asking for much in exchange. That's what makes me love PFP Services so much is you're a value guy. You don't ask. You give. Oh, by the way, yeah, we do provide a service. I'll ask. So talk to me about that seminar series, how people can get involved, and just give me the rundown.
Our entire existence is about helping our credit union partners. James, you know that you've been part of our family for a long time. And regardless of the credit union, we try to work with them in whatever channel they need help with and to provide support and to build. What I would say, every credit union should think about the many channels that they have: branch, business development, the community, social media, the online and digital approach, outbound engagement, the call center. And each one of these is an opportunity. Those are your access points. How do you turn the reactive approach in each of those into a proactive approach? The seminar will help get into that analysis and help you think about your credit union and look at each of your channels. And from that, you're going to decide, listen, I'm great. I don't need any help because I'm already proactive in all ways. And in that case, you've just confirmed that you are top of the heap. But there are many credit unions that are doing some and want more, or there are credit unions that really need help in the analysis. We'll provide you that analysis. We'll help you. If you want us to give you advice on how for you to do it yourself, we'll do that. And if you need help in taking where you are and bumping it up to the next level, we'll do that as well. And here's the interesting thing. When many credit unions think about things like outbound engagement, or even today, the business development, the employer group issue, many credit unions actually need to get started again or get started for the first time. And we're there to help take them from zero to wherever they want to be. That partnership is what we're all about. And if you've noticed in this entire podcast, I haven't talked about the products and services. Well, we do help members. Everything is about the member. That's what we're about. We work with credit unions. We have the exact same goals, which is to help educate, engage, and protect that individual and their family. Credit unions are all about that financial protection, that financial education. And we want to come in and say, let's help you with the insurance side. The reason why we've been around for 50 years is because of that very partnership. It's the helping from the members to the credit unions and back. And for me, it's an incredible opportunity to be a part of it. It's what gets me up in the morning. I pop out of bed. I love doing what I do. I know, James, you do as well, because it's when you're part of the movement, that's what you do. You just want to keep on going. That's our story, and we hope to help many credit unions. When it comes to the seminar, we're going to be all around the country. And James, I really hope that you come to our one in January. We're going to be in Atlanta, but there are going to be opportunities. We are partnering with the AACUC. Now, the AACUC is the African American Credit Union Coalition, is really one of the most incredible organizations that has been growing within the movement for the last 25 years. And we've been part of the AACUC from its inception. And as not only a supporter, but a partner, and that relationship is what we're bringing forward. Credit unions want to be part of and get the guidance from and the partnership with the AACUC. And together, that relationship is what's bringing this seminar series forward.
And folks, if you are interested in that seminar, we will have that in the show notes. We will have that in our newsletter, or you can just hit me up or hit up David. But just want you to know, we will give you access, no pun intended, to the Access seminar. That brings us to the end of the show. David, final thoughts that could be pertaining to the conversation we had today, could be something you want to riff on, but give us those final thoughts swimming around in your noggin.
Well, the number of credit unions peaked somewhere around 23,000 credit unions around the country. Today, there are 4,500 credit unions. And if you're listening, you're one of those 4,500 credit unions. So that means you're definitely doing a lot of things right. When it comes to the next 10 years, the next 5 years, and the continued consolidation of the market, which I've actually lived through, I could tell you the credit unions that make it and don't make it, it has to do with being able to innovate, being able to stay with it, and change with the changing mindset and the changing activity of the members that we serve. And you've already done it. What we love to do is help credit unions get where they need to go. When it comes to that change of behavior and the next channel, this channel, the next channel, we definitely want to be there. And I actually just listened to a program where I'm thinking, maybe that's actually going to be the next channel, the one that no one's even talking about. I don't want to say it here right now, but I think I know where the next channel is going to be. We'll do that on another episode. But in the meantime, I just want you to know that the credit union movement is a fantastic movement. It's a strong movement, and the members want to be here. We just need to go get them.
Excellent. And David, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, let's say a listener is like, wow, I love what that guy's putting down. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, my email, dsussman, DSUSSMAN @familysecurityplan.com. That's one word, familysecurityplan.com. Send me an email. I will respond immediately to it, and I look forward to talking to any of you about your challenges, your goals, and helping you achieve them.
And James, final thoughts. Give it to me.
You know, when I first heard about the topic and then I saw that PFP was going to be here with us, I was really happy. I wanted to share with all my friends and colleagues. When I first heard the PFP offering, I literally said, that can't be real. There can't be somebody that's doing this for credit unions, but they do. So if you haven't checked them out, I urge you to. They will make your business better. So that's what I really want to say here is PFP is a great partner to consider. There's lots of ways we've been talking about, all morning, lots of ways to help use different portals and different paths to grow your credit union. PFP is certainly one of those, and I would urge you to consider it.
Thank you very much, James.
Okay, and people won't believe me, but we did not set this up. But listeners are going to be like, sure, we don't believe you.
It's true. I didn't know James was going to be on here. I'm like, hello.
So just for the listeners, I did not set this up. Okay, that brings us to the end. I want to thank my guest co-host, James McBride. I want to thank David Sussman, and I want to thank our sponsor, PFP Services. And I want to give a special thanks to you, our listeners, for continuing to support and listen to another episode of Grow Your Credit Union. If you like the show, Please follow us on your podcast player of choice and share this episode with someone who would benefit from listening. If you want to be a guest or would like to talk about sponsorship opportunities, head to growyourcreditunion.com to learn more. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. Take care, and bye-bye.